Budget and Capital Programme. This report presents the draft General Fund Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 2016-17 and a forecast outturn position for 2015-16. Section 3 shows the outturn forecast for the current financial year, which is an additional contribution to reserves of 585,000. The key variances that make up this underspend are given at Appendix A. The current draft budget position for 2016-17 is shown at Section 5, which is a deficit of 315,000. After taking into account savings that have already been identified and approved by Cabinet over a period of months. The next section considers the options available and the options required to ensure a balanced budget for 2016-17 that can be recommended to Council this evening. This includes a decision on any increase in council tax and fees and charges. The 3-year financial plan has been updated and the main issues are included at Section 8. It gives an overview of the issues facing the Council in the medium term and the further government funding reductions that are planned as part of the local government finance settlement over the course of this Parliament. Section 9 shows the proposed capital programme for 2016-17 and the resources available to finance it. The programme will be 8.427 million and full details are shown in Appendix D. A risk assessment of the assumptions built into the 2016-17 budget is included at Section 10. The localisation of business rates continues to present significant additional risks to the authority, and this must be reflected in the level of reserves that are maintained. The recommendations are shown at Section 2, but of course I will move a further recommendation after discussion of this. Councillor Kondarker.
Right, thank you, Chair. You've made it very difficult for me to comment on your further recommendation as I need a time machine. You are keeping it secret during the public speaking as to what your plans are, which is most unsatisfactory. The Green Party's plans for this budget I published and made freely available last week. I've made a YouTube video and I've posted copies and links to members. So I do try and allow us to discuss budgets as much as possible and as early as possible, because I think that no one has a unique selection of good ideas. The best ideas quite often come from debate between several parties. And at the County Council, we actually have a very efficient system of actually sharing budgets before the budget meeting so that we actually come to some compromise. Obviously I don't like the compromise we come to, but at least it's better than this keeping it secret. Our budget tonight will actually be focused on 4 areas. Yet we actually need to sort out economic development. We're getting towards 20% of the shops and businesses in the town centre empty, so that's important that we get focus and get to like a business improvement district. We need to sort out the parking hike. This 20% hike in parking over an hour isn't going to be good for our town centre, so we need that properly discussed. And what you're proposing is both illegal and I don't think will raise the amount of money expected. Hiking prices by 20% will reduce the number of people coming to the Eton town centre and make those that do come actually shop for under 1 hour. So it's very regressive. And we also need to sort out the horrendous mess at Venice Civic Hall, where we actually overspend on a £650,000 budget. This is monstrously large amounts of money. £13 per household gets spent on the Civic Hall. And I would like the Council to start taking some action to bring that budget under control. We have continually suggested some cheaper for the Mayor's Civic car and some greener. We've now got to the point, particularly with the dreadful cuts in our government grant, of actually really saying now's the time to get rid of the Civic car and driver. And yet we do need to be actually tightening our belts as councillors. We need to get rid of this councillor's IT allowance and phone allowance we pay ourselves. That for £12,500, that is totally unjustified in this day of cheaper technology. And we need to cut down some of the special responsibility allowances because actually the money spent on sharing OSC meetings is actually around £700 per meeting for some of the chairs. And so, yeah, we do need to look at the levels of these allowances, because, yeah, times are hard, the government is taking money out of the meeting. I understand it's not all your fault, but we do need to trim our cloth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I ask you whether you have legal qualifications, Councillor Kondaka? Because you implied that you knew more about the law than our legal expert.
I have talked to our external auditors and read reports about a similar situation in North Dorset. So although I'm not a legal expert, I have actually looked at the legal situation and read and talked widely about it to people who are experts. And I do consider our external auditor to be a qualified person to give a verdict.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much. Michelle Kondaka.
I've got nothing extra to add, thank you.
Right. So, do we have any contribution from Cabinet members before I come into what... first of all, I would like to say... Pardon?
Other than the fact I'd like to congratulate the officers and of the council, because on Appendix C, page 26, I think we will find that despite all the cuts, I think this council has done very, very well in managing to find savings of 792,000. Considering the cuts that this government is enforcing on us all the while, you know, we are a council that reforms public services rather than cuts public services.
In backing that up, I would also like to say that I need no lessons in relation to public services and how we use money from the County Council, thank you very much, which continues to take the vast majority of the council tax that residents here pay and it gives us an ever-decreasing service year after year after year. So we join with having our libraries closed, our youth clubs closed, our lights turned off, one cut after another. And I don't see the County Council share of the council tax being lowered. In fact, you will see this evening that their proportion is actually going up again. But I would like to move how we intend to bridge this gap. And I have to say that we have brought this year far more things with the help of our officers to Cabinet through the year than ever before. We've brought a bigger proportion so that we haven't left until the last minute how to balance the budget. We've, in terms of the entire budget, we have actually a much smaller proportion to balance this evening than normally. So I will move the budget recommendation, which of course is the Labour Group recommendation. Yes. And it is as follows. That the General Fund Draft Revenue Budget 2016-17 attached as Appendix A be recommended to the Council for approval, including the following growth items. Firstly, an additional amount of £11,000 to continue with our local agreement to pay the independent living wage, increasing the hourly rate to £8.25. Secondly, an additional amount of £20,000 to continue and increase our funding of various activities within our town centres to ensure their ongoing vitality. B, when added to the original deficit of 315,000, as in paragraph 5.3 of the Cabinet report, the revised deficit is 346,000 and is to be funded as follows. 1. Saving identified in postages due to more efficient working practices, 18,000. 2. A review of fees and charges as set out at Appendix B. This review is being carried out to ensure that fees and charges meet their strategic objective and will bring an extra 39,000. 3. Increased building control income due to increased demand and an increase in fees by an average of 12.8% as agreed by the Building Control Partnership Steering Group, 32,000 extra. 4, savings across the parks contract of 40,000, only a small portion of which will be an actual saving in service. 5, savings arising from a more focused street cleansing service with no impact on current service levels and no compulsory redundancies, 45,000. 6, increased income from a more proactive approach to charging for the delivery of replacement wheel bins, 10,000. 7, additional external income from health and safety through the current 3-year partnership with Rugby Borough Council, 3,000. 8, increased rental income from council assets, 36,000. These savings amount to £223,000. Then C, that the district council tax for 2016-17 be increased by 1.94% to £215.29 for a band D, raising £146,000 in additional council tax income and protecting our base for future years. D, that the surplus resources of £23,000 be added to general fund balances to support the savings programme for 2017-18. E, that the Director of Finance and Procurement assurance statements on reserves and base budget proposals as included in Appendix A be noted. F, because of the timescales involved, the General Fund Revenue Budget 2016-17 was considered as an urgent item and not subject to call-in as provided for in paragraph 15F of the Overview and Scrutiny Procedure Rules in Part 4 of the Constitution. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Have any speakers at this point? Are we happy to pass that being the...
I don't really speak on that.
Pardon? He's spoken on this, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the next item. It is.
Sorry.
I would like to state as well that we are not unlike some dogmatic in terms of party discussions, because you will notice part of this, 2 of these things are in relation to working with 2 other councils, both of which are Conservative control, North Warwickshire Borough Council and Rugby Borough Council. And their political allegiances are not our concern. What's our concern is the savings to the public. So I'll move that in relation to item 7. All those in favour? Thank you. Will of course be discussed later. Item 8 is the Treasury Strategy and Budgetary Framework 2016-17. This report sets out the Council's strategy for borrowing and investing resources during 2016-17 and through to 2018-19 and includes all the required Treasury and Prudential indicators. All of the Treasury and Prudential indicators requiring approval are detailed within the report, but also are summarised at Appendix B. These help to ensure that our capital spend is affordable and prudent. Section 4 sets out our capital spend predictions. Sections 5 and 6 show our borrowing position and financial limits, and Section 7 details the forecast for interest rates. Sections 8 through to 10 provide information on the proposed borrowing strategy. The Council's investment policy, strategy and our investment counterparty creditworthiness policy are detailed in sections 11 through to 13. The Council is also required to have a policy for a minimum revenue provision for debt repayment, and this is shown at Appendix A. The recommendation at 2.1 is for Cabinet to agree the proposed Treasury strategy and budgetary framework for 2016-17 as detailed in the Appendix G and submit to Council for approval. Due to the timescales involved, this report is marked not for calling. And we have Councillor Condark who wants to speak about this.
Thank you very much, Chair. Unlike the last report, I know what I'm talking about this time because all the information is presented in a timely fashion. I'd actually like to congratulate Craig for the good work that's been done in actually getting investment income out of our savings at the moment. It is actually a very hard time to actually get anything more than 0.5% out of anywhere. So we are actually doing quite well on our investments. But we're actually facing a very difficult time ahead. And particularly with the destruction of the local economy and the risks that our pooling of business rates may either end or be scaled back as the combined authority changes which areas are in and out of the business pool. We do face very difficult times. I do think there could be a banking crash coming again. If you look at what's happening in America with the oil companies and frackers going into bankruptcy, there's definitely a chance that we'll have another run on the American banks and the contagion onto the UK. So we do need to batten down the hatches and be very careful with how we invest our money and keep as much of it away from high-risk items as possible. I say things do look a lot better with where we invest. Gone are the bad days when we invested 3 million in Iceland. I am fairly comfortable with where we're going. But I do think we need to be extra careful in our treasury management. What happens if the business rate pool gets chopped up and is no longer a large pool? Because we are actually riding on the coattails of councils that are doing well, with thriving town centres and no hikes in parking charges. If Nuneaton had to cope with its own business rates and couldn't actually take the advantage of other places that are doing better, we could be in serious problems. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions to Councillor Condark? No, thank you very much. Are there any comments, questions about the report itself? No, we're happy then with the recommendations?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the officers for always having been given good advice to this authority. I can't remember a single time when we have not had good financial advice. Nor can I remember a time when we have not been complimented by external auditors. So I thank all the officers across the council for the work they've done on it. Right, all those in favour then of that? So there are no recommendations from the Committee.
No.
And there are no other items.